Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if 5th Hokage Naruto Namikaze got sent back in time during the invasion of Iowa Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please give me hype instead of comment and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. I woke up a few minutes ago. Stated Naruto as he tested his restraints, his eyes covered by a thick cloth and his body chained to a chair. Chakra suppressors, huh? Is that why can't I activate the Rinnegan? And why can't I feel Kurama? Well good, that will save some time. Stated a familiar voice. Care to explain why we found you with a whirlpool and Konoha headband? I doubt you have dual citizenship. Not fully contemplating what the man interrogating him meant, he decided to give up nothing. My mother was from Whirlpool. My father was from the Leaf. I'm sorry to hear that they are both passed. It's a shame when parents can't watch their children grow. Stated the interrogator, sympathy in his voice. Though I question, are you a Yamanaka? A Yamanaka? I'm the Godime Hokage. How does this man not know me? Or are they trying to get me to spill secrets? Wondered Naruto as he continued to contact Kurama. As far as I know, my father was civilian born. Though I've been told I look like a Senju. Hilarious, though I suppose you would look like Tsunade if you had straight hair and brown eyes. Stated the interrogator, almost as a forethought. Who sent you to infiltrate Iwagakure? I came of my own accord. Stated Naruto as he contemplated his predicament. Your leader attacked my supply line to Namikaze. I came to retaliate. Wave. I sent no attack to Wave. Stated another voice, one that Naruto immediately recognized. Onoki. You know me by voice alone I see. Stated the Kage who hovered behind the blonde. Tell me, what happened to this so-called supply line that you say I had attacked? Cheap trick Kitsuchi. You know I killed that old man in Kumo. Take this blindfold off. Stated Naruto dismissively. I see, he's trying to get me off my rocker. But why though? Naruto's blindfold was removed and he was shocked to see Onoki staring him in the eyes. A much younger Onoki. What did you just say? Questioned the Sandaime Tsuchikage calmly, hiding the shock he felt when he had called out for his not yet born son. You heard me, I killed Onoki at the Chunin exams invasion. Put my fist through his torso. Stated Naruto, his eyes staring through Onoki and into the man behind him. There was something familiar about him. I don't have time for your insanity. Dismissed Onoki as he turned to leave. Kill him. Hey not Onoki, when does the side effects of that displacement of time should wear off? Questioned Naruto. I want my stomach to stop flip-flopping. Onoki froze, his mind racing. Get out and seal the room. Onoki turned his head and roared at the interrogator. Now. It was several minutes later when Onoki finally moved, taking up an eye-level position in front of the blonde. You said that someone, obviously of IWA, used the displacement of time on you. What year did that take place? Naruto, finally beginning to see the possibility that something was terribly wrong, answered. 482. I see. Stated Onoki, his eyes showing sympathy. That vile jutsu sent you back 35 years. It is 447. And that's not all, that jutsu removes you from your timeline and adds you to another. So you're telling me that you really are Onoki of both scales? Questioned Naruto. Yes, but not the one you knew, or apparently killed rather. That jutsu is of the highest level secrecy. The fact that you even know its name tells me that whoever became the Kage of this village saw you as a big enough threat to sacrifice their life to remove you from existence. Stated Onoki with a look of disgust on his face. They would have been 35 when they cast it. It is an old Uzumaki Fuinjutsu that takes away the life lived by the caster and sends the target back in a way. I am extremely sorry about this. But this world is not your own. There will be differences in this world, events that haven't happened, history that has been changed from what you know. Even the very timeline may be skewed. Why should I believe any of this? I've been the Godime Hokage for 4 years before this happened. As far as I know, Kitsuchi set this all up and is holding me for ransom. stated Naruto as he tried to activate his Dujutsu again, meeting the same futility. I shall have a letter penned and sent to Hiruzen. It is up to you to believe me. You are currently being held in a stronghold 3 miles southeast of Iwagakure. I shall have my fastest bird deliver the letter, stated Onoki as he got up and channeled chakra into the door, unlocking it and allowing Naruto to smell the fresh air. I'm sorry this happened to you, Hokage Dono. Please allow your history to stay in your timeline. This will be my only act of kindness. Just know that the jutsu that was used on you has been used on members of this world as well. There is no known way to get back to your world. And with that, Onoki disappeared out the door, leaving Naruto in the interrogation room unwatched, and from what Naruto could tell, he was completely unguarded. Breaking the chain around him and removing the remaining restraints, Naruto found that he had 8 chakra suppression tags around his body. Okay, that's excessive. Once all of the seals were removed, Naruto channeled some nature chakra and found that the stronghold had actually been abandoned, though he could feel a large group of ninja on the outskirts of the far wall. Naruto attempted to Hiraishin away, but was unable to find any markers other than the ones in his kunai pouch, which he flashed to. Deciding that it wouldn't be a good idea to wear his cage outfit, he sealed his possessions into the seal on the back of his palm. Naruto checked once more and found that the ninja were heading back into the stronghold, so he entered Sage mode and fled out the nearest wall, blowing through the brick and mortar, then heading south as fast as he could. Sir. I believe it was wise to let that man go. When he removed the chakra suppression seals, his reserves boosted to well above yours, and when he left, his reserves exploded, stated the man that had interrogated Naruto. You're dismissed, Mr. Morino. You will keep this secret, stated Onoki as he floated into the air and began moving toward the village. Kitsuchi. What could have caused my son to use the forbidden jutsu? And on a cage no less. 6 hours later, Naruto had been running through all the possibilities in his mind as he ran through the woods. It was quickly becoming obvious that Onoki had been telling the truth, and that this truly was the past, or a past. After Naruto accepted that, he began concocting his next step. Obviously he would work to get back to his world, but if Onoki was correct, then he would have to wait for Jiraiya to pull him back from the other side. That would mean that Naruto would most likely be stuck here for an unknown amount of time. But what if I am stuck here? That thought made him stop in his tracks. Maybe I'll give it a month. If I'm still here in a month, then I'll settle down and start building a new life. Jiraiya needs to hurry up with this seal. Konoha. Team Sarutobi stood across from Hiruzen, having been summoned just moments ago. I just received a notice from Onoki. He claims to have just captured and released a ninja claiming affiliation with our village. He says the young man is extremely powerful and loyal, and that he would not be in our records, stated Sarutobi, gaining various looks from all 3 of his students. What ninja would we have operating near Iwa? They bowed out almost a year ago, stated Jiraiya. Is there any chance it was one of Danzo's men? How powerful is he? Questioned Orochimaru. We did just get Suna to bow out of the war after Sakumo took down Chio's division. He could boost our ninja count while we try to take down Aim and Kiri. His identity is unconfirmed, though if he were Danzo's, then he wouldn't have been found, stated the third. I don't like it. My informants haven't said anything about a rogue nin that was loyal to Konoha, and we haven't sent anyone out there, stated Jiraiya. And Iwa is still neutral, bordering on enemy with us. If they had one of ours in custody, why would Onoki release them? Did he give a name? Questioned Tsunade. I'd like to check against hospital records. His parents might have been nin. She was interrupted as Jiraiya took off out of the window of the office, Orochimaru and Hiruzen following him. By the time Tsunade caught up with her sensei, they were all standing at the gates. Behind her was a small gathering of shinobi. But it was what was in front of her that had Jiraiya so tense. A tall, extremely muscular, blonde young man was staring down Orochimaru with a smoldering glare. His tight black muscle shirt and baggy pants somehow made him look more menacing. I assume you are the one Onoki specified. Stated Hiruzen. I'd appreciate it if you didn't direct that killing intent at my pupil. With all due respect, sir, he was the one that directed it at me first. Stated Naruto as he looked over them. Wow, pervy sage looks young. Tsunade and Orochimaru look the same. Go figure that. With pitiful killing intent like that, I could beat him to death with a blade of grass. You are an unknown being that was moving at the village at a high rate of speed. Stated Orochimaru. You're quite lucky that I didn't kill you. Naruto ignored the snake summoner's spike of chakra and instead focused on the third Hokage. Naruto knew he would have to gain the man's trust, and other than the Hokage's password, that would be a tall order. On top of that, Konoha was still at war with Kiri and AIM. If Naruto was correct, then Jiraiya being in the village meant that the trio had not yet fought Hanzo of the Salamander, which also meant that his would-be father was most likely not yet in the village, nor was his mother. That was why Kurama wasn't responding to him and why he couldn't use his Rinnegan. Kurama must have either stayed in his time or was sucked into his previous host. Without Kurama, Naruto didn't have a strong enough link to the sage, and most likely couldn't use the first 4 forms of his Dujutsu either. That would mean that Kurama was still in Mito. That meant a new problem. Without Kurama, Naruto would need to stay in Sage mode to use his fighting style. Thank God he still had Hiraishin and Sage mode. Hokage-sama, Onoki of both scales said he sent word. Did he inform you of myself? Questioned Naruto as he visibly relaxed, confusing most watching, as they were all completely on edge. Indeed. He claimed you were completely loyal to my village. Strange coming from another cage. Stated Hiruzen. You appear to be well trained. Who trained you? A toad, a slug, a swordsman and a monkey. Stated Naruto, drawing an arching eyebrow from the Sandame. Oh, and a scarecrow. Can't forget him. I see. Stated the professor, his mind wandering. The toad contract only has 3 names on it, and Jiraiya's the only living summoner. The slug contract has only ever been in Senju hands. And a swordsman. Not many Konoha nin use swords, that's Kiri and Kumo. And the royal family of Uzu. And a scarecrow. The Hatake perhaps, but Tsukumo and Indi are the only 2 left. Sensei. He feels dangerous. Stated Jiraiya. Only 3 people ever felt dangerous to Hiruzen's student, and that was Hiruzen himself, Danzo Shimura, and Tsukumo Hatake. I want you 3 to take him in, but leave him alive. Stated Sarutobi before he raised his voice and looked out at Naruto. I advise you impress me. I'd like you to answer some questions once you've recovered. Before most could blink, Orochimaru appeared behind the blonde and aimed a kick at his head, only for Naruto to catch his leg effortlessly, smashing Orochimaru into the ground before backhanding him across the cheek, sending him bouncing away like a child's ball. Jiraiya and Tsunade simply stated in awe. The blonde had just effortlessly handed Orochimaru his own, and the snake summoner still wasn't getting up. He hadn't even moved his feet. But it was something that Jiraiya saw that made him quake in his sandals. Just as Orochimaru had launched his kick, the pigment around the blonde's eyes changed from smooth tan to dark orange. Even though he couldn't use Sage mode, he knew that happens when Fukusaku used in their spars. No, that's impossible. It's not the first time we have seen Orochimaru get overconfident. Stated Tsunade as she entered her battle stance. No, I won't fight him. Not only would he defeat me effortlessly, he is a rank higher than I am. Stated Jiraiya, confusing Tsunade. Hiruzen Sarutobi simply nodded. Tell me Jiraiya, as an elite Jonin, how is this young man a higher rank than you? Whatever his summon is, he has become a master. I no longer doubt he could kill all of us if he wanted to. Stated Jiraiya, his hands shaking. What has gotten into you? Questioned Tsunade, watching him shake like a leaf. So what, he has a summon, all 4 of us do. Jiraiya is correct. Anbu. Bring him to integration. Stated Sarutobi as he looked over the young blonde, who was staring at the Hokage monument. Please come along. A sage. I too saw the pigment change in his eyes. Toads. Once again. Name, rank, affiliation, date of birth and ninja ID. Stated the Hokage is Inamaru, Inoichi's father if Naruto guessed correctly, monitored his vitals, a simple but effective way to detect lying. With a sigh, Naruto repeated. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Godime Hokage. Konohagakure October 10, 465, 012607. He believes he is telling the truth. Stated Inamaru surprisingly. He's either under a genjutsu or he is actually telling the truth. You'd be shocked at how much chakra it would take to put a genjutsu on me. Stated Naruto with a laugh, raising Sarutobi's suspicions. You are dismissed then, Inamaru. Please apply the soundproofing seals. Stated Hiruzen to the Yamanaka head as he sat down gracefully across from Naruto and waited patiently. You claim to have been Hokage. I believe you know what you need to do to confirm that with me. Naruto once again found himself marveling at the fact that Hiruzen Sarutobi, the legendary third Hokage, was no older than 35. Naruto could tell that he was extremely powerful. He remembered back to the fight against Orochimaru, how frail the man looked as he handed him the title of Hokage. No way I'm going to let that happen here. I won't let you make that mistake twice, Gigi. How bad would it turn out if I just killed him? Even though the eyes of the stone see all, it is the ears of the shadow that warn. Recited Naruto, his eyes matching Hiruzen's as they analyzed each other. Sarutobi nodded grimly. So what you say is in fact true. I am the only living person that knows that verse. Onoki said that it was a result of an old Uzumaki jutsu. In my time, we were at war with Iwa. I was leading the charge to finish the fight. Actually, I was the only one leading the charge. I was absorbed by an unknown jutsu, then I woke up in an IWA stronghold. Stated Naruto honesty. I need to find his notes. If my great-grandfather invented this jutsu, then maybe his notes can get me home. Why attack yourself? Did you not have good generals? Questioned Sarutobi, his mind swirling. After all, this is the risk when the leader of the village heads the fight. I always lead my troops. I will be the first to die. In my 4 years as Hokage, there was only 3 field casualties under me. I drank myself to sleep for a week before I got over it enough to reform my policies. Stated Naruto. There are 9 cage level ninja in my village that can take over my responsibilities should I fall. An admirable trait. Will you join this village, even as a chunin? Questioned the Hokage. 9 cage level shinobi. How do you even make that up? I'd join as a genin. This is my village and these are a few of the people I loved in my time. I'd only join this village. Stated Naruto. But I will be truthful with you. I must return to my own time. I long for my loved ones and it's not even been a day. Matters of the heart are not a fickle subject. Stated Hiruzen sympathetically, thinking of his wife and soon-to-be-born son. I can assign you to a non-combative, non-essential role to allow you to search for your answers, but anyone I send to you I want trained, do you understand? Absolutely. This may not be my Konoha, but I'll make it the best Konoha it can be. Stated Naruto with confidence. What is your summon? Are you a sage? Naruto growled a bit at the suddenness, alarming the Hokage. I should have known better than to use that in front of Jiraiya. I am the second toad sage. My master was the first. If Jiraiya was the toad, Tsunade would have been the slug. Am I the monkey? Yes. You trained me from a very young age. I was in Anbu at the age of 7 and a full Anbu at the age of 9. Stated Naruto. At 9, were you meant to be a super soldier? Questioned Sarutobi. Were we always at war? Of sorts. My father died the day of my birth, as did my mother. Their death left me as a target. Stated Naruto as he looked the Hokage in the eyes. In my time, my father was the Yondaime. He devastated Iwa in the Third Great War. They hated him so much that they came after me. Iwa does hold a grudge rather well. Who was the swordsman and the scarecrow? The swordsman was a man who wielded the Kubikiribocho. I defeated him on a mission and he agreed to join our village when he became a missing nin. The scarecrow was Tsukumo Hataki's son. Stated Naruto with a sad smile. If you don't mind, I'd like a disposable almanac so I can see what is different in this world than mine. I've already spotted one that is rather major. I see. Do you believe that your appearance here will severely alter the history that you know? Asked Sarutobi seriously. I'm an upper tier Kage level on my worst day. I plan on altering as much as I can for the good of Konoha. Confirmed Naruto. I've killed Biju before, and in my time, the only lands that were not allies of Konoha were the land of waterfalls, Iwa, and a village in the land of rice that I plan of destroying before it comes to power. I assume you plan on staying under the radar while you are here? Questioned the Sandame. As such a powerful and young ninja, that will not be easy, you will need a good cover story. I think I have a good one. Smirked Naruto. But first, I'm going to need that world's almanac I asked for. 2 days later, Training Ground Zero. Naruto stood dead center of the Hokage's training grounds, carefully contemplating all that he had read and observed over the last 2 days. Shadow clones really were a marvelous thing. This village was different than his own. Hiruzen seemed to have a more militaristic mindset in this world, shown by Konoha bullying Iwa and Kumo out of this war, unlike in his time. Another thing he noticed was that Tobirama had perfected his version of the Hiraishin early on in the First War. Even though he still died to the Kinkaku force, he had killed all but one of them, forcing Kumo to bow out almost 5 years early. This led to the next huge difference. The Sannin of this time were all 4 years older than they were in Naruto's world, and Tsukumo was about a year younger. He had no clue exactly what caused this, but he figured that in the extended peace time after the First War ended it had changed the structure of the nations. The Sannin were older and more powerful in this world, and Tsunade was the apparent leader, not Orochimaru. Outside of that, Naruto had learned that the loss of Uzushio had sparked this war the same way that it did in his time, and that his mother was already in the village. She was 6, almost 7, and was set to gain guardianship of the Kyuubi in the next year. His father was most likely still in the southern fishing town where he was born. Sensei, do you believe this is necessary? Questioned Tsunade as she looked at the assembled shinobi. Tsukumo Hatake, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Kagami Uchiha, and her sensei, all in battle attire. They were the strongest left in the village, with Team Sarutobi set to deploy to AIM in 2.5 weeks and Tsukumo set to lead a team to observe the border between Kusa and Iwa in 4 days. Yes, I believe it is best to test this man for his rank before he rejoins the village. Stated Sarutobi. He claims to have become very powerful. I have no reason to disbelieve him. I have to agree with Lord Hokage. Began Tsukumo, drawing Naruto's attention to him. I can tell that this man is powerful. You will all be testing Naruto here. He has agreed to not use his most destructive jutsus. Which is most of them? Interrupted Naruto. And I would like you to all push him as far as you can. Stated Sarutobi. So who goes first? Questioned Orochimaru with a lightly concealed rage. You all are. Stated Naruto seriously. At once. Lord Hokage and Kagami-san are here to observe. That's preposterous. Stated Orochimaru, refusing to believe that this man, who looked at least 5 years younger than him, was head and shoulders better than them all. Go. Tsukumo quickly ducked a strike to his neck, letting his momentum carry him away and regained his footing, only to watch Orochimaru barely dodge a blow to his abdomen that was followed quickly with a blur of motion past Tsunade, leaving the kunoichi on her back, holding her right cheek. Jiraiya stood over her with Orochimaru falling in at Jiraiya's back, waiting for the blonde to strike. Tsukumo caught a fist that was heading toward his lower back, spinning around and launching a quick strike of his own. The punch never landed, as Naruto spun into Tsukumo's guard, lashing out with an elbow. Tsukumo let go of Naruto's wrist, allowing Naruto to dance around Tsukumo and rain down blow after blow, most of which were parried or blocked. Naruto violently changed direction, throwing up earth as he spun and crushed a spin kick into Jiraiya's ribs, only for the man to dissolve into mud. Acting fast, Naruto flung a kunai into the ground and leapt vertically, causing Orochimaru and Tsunade to leap under him, stopping any angle of escape. The Naruto in the air burst into a puff of smoke, causing the duo's eyes to widen. The kunai that Naruto had thrown to the ground burst similarly, two Narutos leaping out of the smoke to latch onto Tsunade and Orochimaru. Liger Bomb! Shouted Naruto as lightning exploded from his body as he latched onto Orochimaru and slammed him into the ground, a crater forming under the impact. Naruto was already on the move. He sped from Orochimaru to Tsukumo, intent on removing the biggest threat from the field. As he felt his clone dispel, he was slightly shocked that Jiraiya had swapped places with Tsunade, though he supposed it made sense. No one was as durable as Jiraiya, and he probably loved her just as much as in his time. Tsukumo once again engaged Naruto in hand-to-hand combat, trying to hold the frightening teen away from his comrades long enough for Tsunade to get the other two back in the fight. Tsukumo, however, was taken by surprise when the blonde disappeared, literally appearing in a flash of gold with a kunai against Tsunade's throat and an explosive tag on her mouth. The whole clearing stood still. While none of the Konoha ninja had actually gotten their feet under them in the fight, it was still unreal that one man, no older than a teen really, had single-handedly taken down 4 of the best ninja in the village. Orochimaru had yet to manage to stand up. Jiraiya was forced to avoid attacking due to the predicament that Tsunade was in, and even though Tsukumo had a chance to move to intercept, he didn't know if he was even fast enough to get there in time. This man is fast. Far faster than even I could imagine. And the pure power and absolute grace in his movements. Though Tsukumo gravely, even with Kenjutsu I may not be able to defeat that man. I am frightened to see the jutsu he possesses. Sarutobi had the same thoughts going through his mind. The way he fights reminds me of Tobirama sensei. And that golden flash. This man knows the Hiraishin, but a far greater version than what sensei could use. He must have marked her when he struck her. Jiraiya himself was sweating mentally. He didn't even use Sage Mode. He could potentially be 10 times more powerful than this. Perhaps I should train under him. This brat. He is so fast, so powerful. How can he be so superior to me? Questioned Orochimaru mentally before he caught a glance at Jiraiya, who looked to be contemplating something deeply. What are you thinking? I should maybe explain exactly why you were all brought here to test this young man. Stated Sarutobi, gaining the attention of the surrounding ninja. I'd like you all to formally meet Naruto Namikaze, a member of the Deep Cover Division. It was decided that he and his squad would be pulled out of his territory and would be reassigned to the military police upon return. However, 6 months ago, communications stopped and he was presumed dead. Deep cover. I thought that was just a myth. Stated Tsunade as she looked over the blonde. It was a distraction sent out by Tobirama Gigi during the First War. It is. Stated Kagami, confusing the group. The man you see before you is the last of the group. It's officially disbarred. Namikaze was and has been the last surviving member if it for the last 6 months. Naruto schooled his features, trying to display the persona that would warrant the backstory that Sarutobi had concocted for him. I lost my last teammate when we went too far north on a surveillance sweep. He was killed during nasty fight with the Hachibi Jinchuriki. I've been on my own ever since. Naruto has discovered and memorized plans and secrets from most of the nations. He will be kept in the village unless necessary to ensure he is kept safe. Stated Sarutobi. I have assigned him to the military police starting tomorrow. I hope he will be able to make bonds with our village while protecting its citizens. With all due respect, sir, I need a man like him in my squad. Stated Tsukumo. Even if it is just as a trainer for other hand-to-hand specialist. I am not a hand-to-hand specialist. Stated Naruto, once again throwing the collected shinobi for a loop. Specialties get you killed. I am a ninja. I specialize in everything. However, I'm categorized under something more sinister. Naruto here will most likely be reforming the Deep Cover Squad after his 3-month probation. Stated Sarutobi. I advise you work well with him, my students. Naruto, you are dismissed. Please accompany Kagami. He will be showing you your life for the next 3 months. Naruto nodded and followed the aged Uchiha out of the hidden clearing, leaving Team Sarutobi and Tsukumo in the training grounds, each having their own questions. Sensei, what classification does Namikaze fall under that would considered sinister? Is he a poisons expert? Questioned Orochimaru. He has amazing control, even at the high speeds that he moves at. Perhaps a look in his records. He is going to be listed as an A-ranked ninja. Stated Sarutobi, Orochimaru grinding his teeth at the thought of someone on his own ranking being so superior to him. As far as I know, he is not a poisons expert. Naruto has a very particular set of skills and abilities that puts him in very good company. Before Orochimaru could question what exactly his skills were, Jiraiya interrupted him. He's a war machine. Correct. Naruto possesses nearly 5 times the reserves that I myself do, and has the jutsu arsenal to boot. From what I understand, he has a mastery over 4 of the elements. He has countless original jutsu and unfortunately, he refuses to show them unless his comrades are in danger. Stated Sarutobi. Naruto has done his best to stay under the radar. He is a ghost. Other than my personal record for his unit, which was destroyed when his unit went missing, he has nothing tying him to this village but his loyalty. I don't have to tell you that it is paramount that he stays in this village. Was he born here? Questions Tsukumo. He seems so familiar. I could swear I have seen him before. No, Naruto comes from a farming village in the Southlands, much like Jiraiya and you. Here's an explain to Tsukumo. That reminds me, I will need to send someone soon to check on the orphanage. With a nod, Tsukumo left, intent on spending the rest of his free time in the village with his wife before he was deployed. Sarutobi waited a moment so that he was left alone with his students. I hope this has humbled you all. Naruto is 6 years younger than you, and his power exceeds all of you. He is not alone in this world. When you are deployed to AIM, you will see what I am implying. You are dismissed. Police headquarters. Naruto had to admit, it was somewhat unnerving to see all the Uchiha in the village, but even more unnerving to see a cluster of them in the police headquarters. He followed Kagami into the building, his newly donned Chunin flak jacket causing some odd stares as he followed the older Uchiha into the main office. Many of our ninja are of the Uchiha clan, but there are some that are not. Luckily, with your history, most will see you as a battle-hardened warrior. Just do your best not to provoke the ire of the higher-ups. Naruto nodded as sat down across from Kagami as he started to fill out the paperwork to begin his career in police work. The Sandaime had been surprised when Naruto had suggested he be enlisted in the police force, but Naruto explained that he could help more in the long run if he did his probationary time as a public figure. The more exposure he had, the more people would want to find out about him themselves. If everything played out nicely, by the end of his 3-month probation, Naruto would be an accepted and hopefully respected member of the village. Then his real plan could start. If he was in the village that long, that is. Kagami-sama, we have a new recruit. Questioned a young but deep voice behind Naruto. Naruto paid him no mind as he continued to fill out his paperwork. Ah, if it isn't little Fugaku. Stated Kagami as he looked over Naruto's shoulder, getting a sound of agitation from the Uchiha. Yes, my nephew. Naruto here requested to become an officer when he returned to the village a few days ago. Fugaku. Sasuke's old man. Thought Naruto contemplatively. Wish I could just use a shadow clone to do this. Requested. Questioned Fugaku as he rounded the table and stood diligently at the chief's side. Most non-Uchiha shy away from the police. It's rather rare that one would like to join. I suppose I'm not like most people. Stated Naruto as he handed the forms back to Kagami and extended his gaze to Fugaku. Nice to meet you, I'm Naruto Namikaze. Fugaku Uchiha. Stated Fugaku as he stared down Naruto, his hand unmoving. Kagami sighed, his nephew wasn't the best with people. Naruto, Report to the academy, you'll be filling in as a liaison when Kamito isn't available. Do you know the way? I believe I do. Have a good day Kagami-sama, you as well Fugaku. Stated Naruto before disappearing in a flash of gold, startling the ninja in the office. There is no doubt about it. That boy is performing the Hiraishin. Thought Kagami as he reminisced about seeing Tobirama use it in the First War. To use it so easily. Just where have you been hiding this boy Hiruzen? I'd advise you not make an enemy of him my foolish nephew. Stated Kagami, his tone serious. You may both be Chunin, but he is your elder, and he is exponentially more powerful than you. I doubt that seriously. Stated Fugaku. He's a fisherman. It's not like he is Tsukumo or Jiraiya. You are right, admitted Kagami, the smirk on Fugaku's face growing. I watched Naruto not only hold his own in a spar with Tsukumo and Jiraiya, but Tsunade and Orochimaru as well. And he won. Man, this place is so different than the last time I was here. Stated Naruto as he walked through the entrance to the academy. The two large wings hadn't been added yet, the building was only the grand hall and the training grounds. Naruto had snooped around, finding the spots where a student could hide or a fight would be likely to happen. Overall he was impressed with the chakra levels he was feeling. Iruka, all my classmates. Damn, I've got to put it out of my head for now. Jiraiya can get me back, I know he can. Unlike in his days at the academy, there seemed to be a handful of Jonin-level shinobi in the building, though that could be due to the fact that they were still at war and they seemed to be on high alert throughout the village. So caught up in his musings, he missed what a passerby had said to him as he walked down the main hall. Oh, I'm sorry miss. You were saying. Naruto however had missed more than her question, he had missed her face as well. Dark blonde hair framed her face, her deep green pupil-less eyes were slightly covered on the right side of her face by a low-hanging bang. Her hair seemed to trail down her back in a tight ponytail that disappeared behind her shoulder. Her face was a light tan, her pointed nose and full lips standing out above her round cheeks and pointy chin. I asked if you were lost. I've watched you walk past my room twice now. It was weird enough when I saw you outside, now you are in here. Naruto was taken aback by her dismissing tone. While this woman was stunning, she, too, was wearing a Chunin flak jacket, and her tone left a lot to be desired. Behind her, Naruto noticed that her room was actually a classroom, the last of the students filtering out. Yeah, I was assigned as the assistant liaison officer. I'm looking for my new boss's office. The blonde woman's face turned dark for a split second before she again smirked. Why did it seem so familiar to him? I see. He already left for the day, had to take one of the students to see the Hokage after she beat up some of her classmates. Nice one mom, I guess the rumors weren't exactly exaggerated. Thought Naruto as he once again scanned the hallway. Then I guess I best return to headquarters. It was nice to meet you. Then with a smile of his own, he flashed away, leaving the woman and a fellow teachers that had been watching the exchange in awe. Kina, who was that? The blonde woman, now known as Kina, simply shook her head. I don't know. He said that he was the new assistant liaison and when I told him that Kamito had left for the day, he disappeared. He must be quite fast to simply disappear like that. Police HQ. Naruto walked into the main offices and walked up to Kagami's desk, thankfully finding him still at his desk. Sir, could I get the basic records of everyone who is authorized to work at the academy? My supposed teacher was absent and I'd like to get started somewhere. Well then, he is extremely strong and a good tactical thinker. Just where did Hiruzen hide him away? Kagami looked Naruto over, finding him to be quite serious. I'll have them sitting on your desk in the morning. Kamito is off tomorrow and classes will be out, it should give you plenty of time to settle in both here and at the academy. Thank you, sir, stated Naruto. Man, if all the Uchiha were as cool as this guy, then Itachi wouldn't have had to finish them off. You have potential. I do not know where Hiruzen hid you, but I'm glad to have you on my force. stated Kagami as he sat back and looked the blonde in the eyes. Don't make a fool out of myself or Sarutobi. Am I clear? Crystal, sir, stated Naruto, his surprise at Kagami's drastic change in tone hidden behind a facade of indifference. Good. You are relieved for the night. I suggest the hot springs. As long as Jiraiya isn't up to his antics, you should be fine. Smiled Kagami. But then again, he really isn't a problem for you, is he? Training Ground 3. Jiraiya sat beneath a tree on the edge of the training ground, his hand scribbling across the page at high speed, intricate designs appearing as he moved. Tsunade and Orochimaru had been sparring for a while. Orochimaru had not taken their loss to the blonde ninja lightly, and was trying to find a flaw in his style by fighting the next best taijutsu user in the village, Tsunade. Jiraiya, much to the surprise of his teammates, had easily accepted the fact that they had lost, even going to the point of claiming that they never stood a chance in the first place. Tsunade had begun to worry that Jiraiya had become depressed due to the loss at the hands of Naruto and had contemplated how to fix his attitude without swaying to his perverted nature. Jiraiya, on the other hand, had actually been highly upbeat, if not very lost in thought. Namikaze is stronger than me by miles, maybe I can get some training from him, or maybe he could tell me the secrets of Sage Mode. Jiraiya, let's go, commanded Tsunade, getting a confused look from the white-haired ninja. I'm going to the hot springs and you're going to make sure nothing funny happens on the men's side. Can I do something funny on the men's side? Questioned Jiraiya as he fell in step, Orochimaru nowhere in sight. If you want to die, don't forget I nearly killed you last time, stated Tsunade harshly before her thoughts filled her head. Though if it will get you out of this funk then maybe I'll let it slide, this time. You suck to hang around with when you're depressed. Hot springs, 20 minutes later. Naruto had been sitting in the hot springs for about 10 seconds before he heard the telltale sound of perverse giggling in the corner. Jiraiya, if you keep that up you are going to get caught. Jiraiya spun around, finding himself and Naruto alone in the male side of the hot springs. Naruto, what do you know about peeping? Naruto snorted. More than you apparently. You don't even put up a sound barrier, and that invisibility jutsu you use doesn't cover your chakra signature. Jiraiya contemplates the blonde's words and nods appreciatively. You are full of surprises. I've lived a life and gained knowledge that men twice my age would be proud of. Stated Naruto. If you see anything on that woman, it's because she wants you to, and the only reason that she would want that would be to pummel you. Jiraiya sat down into the water and asked a question that had been on his mind since he had first seen the blonde. How did you become a sage? Sarutobi-sensei showed me your file. Your patrol routes and drop-off points would have kept you pretty busy. Naruto sat back, his head resting on the rocks. This is pervy sage, I can trust him, right? He has always been a man of honor. I would have to reveal a very deep and dark secret to explain how I became a sage. You could say I inherited it from my teacher, though he had never completed it to my level, he knew enough to teach me. This teacher, was he human? Questioned Jiraiya, hoping to find out which contract the blonde had. Yes. He had told me that it was part of a long line of teaching. It was originally learned from the toads, but my version could be completely different. Stated Naruto, doing his best not to lie. Jiraiya always could figure out his lies. The toads. I knew it. Your eyes turn the same as Fukasaku-sama. Stated Jiraiya before muttering. But he said that it was impossible for me to become a sage without his guidance. It might be. No two ninja are alike, Jiraiya, and to be a sage, you must be completely at peace with yourself and with the world. That could mean something completely different for you than it did for me. Stated Naruto. Do you think that Tsunade could become a sage? Questioned Jiraiya in a faraway tone. So, you love your teammate, huh? Jiraiya's eyes bugged out. Is it really that noticeable? No, but your spiritual chakra dips when you talk of her, or when she is near. Stated Naruto. She is the heir of the Senju, is she not? And you are a common ninja. I can see why you think you can't have her. You are an interesting person, stated Jiraiya absent-mindedly. But you're right. I am in love with her. You know, she likes you too, stated Naruto, using the public speech jutsu to slightly amplify his and Jiraiya's voices, going off his talks with the Tsunade of his time. It might not be clear now, but you lead the race for her heart. You may not have much of a chance, but the chance is there. And just what would I have to do too? Laughed Jiraiya. Carve her face on the Hokage monument, write her a love song. Just give her time, give her space. When she needs help, be the first one to help her, and when she stands strong, stand beside her. Stated Naruto. She lost someone in the past that meant the world to her, I could see it in her eyes. Show her that you have no problems being there for her and that you want to be that person. Don't ask her out on dates, ask her to train, ask her to help in your studies, offer the same thing back and never pressure her to do anything but better herself. She's on the other side right now, stated Jiraiya as he motioned to the dividing wall. Naruto nodded and whispered, she doesn't seem like the type to want to be coddled, she just needs support. She's a strong woman, physically and I assume mentally. Instead of treating her like a princess, treat her like a best friend. There was silence for a few minutes before Jiraiya got a big smile on his face and got out of the hot water. Then I should get started now. And with that, Jiraiya left the hot springs. I might not have my village back, but I can make this one mine. Sorry Dan, but this pervy sage isn't going to hurt for 20 years. It was then that memories of his 3 wives reared their heads. May, Tamari, Yugito. I'll come home, even if it takes 50 years. I just hope you wait for me. But what if I can't make it home? Academy. Next day, Naruto sat behind his desk in the office at the academy. He had gone over all of the files that Kagami had supplied him, finding that all the teachers had fought in the war, and that mostly they were names he had never heard. It was strange that these teachers seemed to fade out of his history, only having seen their names on the memorial stone. Then there was the big one. The woman he had met the day before, he was right when he had thought she was familiar. Kina Yamanaka, heir to the Yamanaka clan and first-born child of Inamaru, she was Inoichi's older sister. A 16-year-old Chunin that had excelled in hand-to-hand combat, was extremely intelligent and had a fire and very slight wind affinity. She had been injured early in the war during the siege of the Blood Prison when several Konoha shinobi had been captured and held there. In his time, she had died in that battle. He contemplated just how many small changes there had been up to this point in this timeline. I could basically write this time any way I want it. I just wish I could go home. I wonder how the village and Alliance are doing without me. Naruto had often wondered on and remembered his past life. It sometimes got to the point that he would zone out almost completely, nearly hitting things or running into people. If it wasn't for the fact that he had Sage Mode to monitor his surroundings, people would probably think he was an idiot. Speaking of idiots, why are there teachers here on their day off? I get the headmaster and the janitors, but teachers? Come on. It was a few minutes later that Naruto felt a familiar signature enter his range. Speak of the devil, I can tell that wind affinity of hers if being drowned out by her fire affinity. I wonder if she has ever trained it. He grew more surprised when she didn't head towards her room or the teacher's lounge, but right toward his office. When she entered, Naruto was nearly left speechless. True, she had been very attractive in her Chunin uniform, but the burnt orange dress she had on now was a knockout punch. Form-fitting and ending just below her knees, it did nothing to hide her figure, which Naruto had to admit was nearly perfect. Her hips flowed perfectly past her waist and into her thighs, her legs seemed to go on for days until they met her black sandals, her waist lead incredibly into her large bust, which stuck out like a sore thumb in her dress. Naruto had to admit, she wasn't as slim as Ino had been, but the extra pounds of muscle she had seemed fill her out in ways Inoichi's daughter could only dream about. Naruto was extremely lucky that he was experienced in hiding his emotions, but unfortunately, he was ogling a Yamanaka, and this one could read him like a book. Great, another pervert is our on-site officer. Naruto had to admit, her tone did not match her looks. Kina Yamanaka, teacher of room 114. A pleasure to meet you again. She raised an eyebrow, her hands finding her hips as she crossed further into the office. Aren't you supposed to offer me a seat, mister? Naruto in turn raised an eyebrow, and motioned wildly and extravagantly to the seat across from himself. By all means Kinaheim, take your place. I, Naruto Namikaze, am at your service. Kina let out a genuine smile, though Naruto didn't know exactly why. You're a real charmer, you know that. Just because you have those adorable blue eyes, luscious blonde hair and that sexy face doesn't mean you can just stare at women. Though I do wonder how you got those scars. Doing his best to not fluster, Naruto leaned forward in his chair and rested his elbows on his desk. Then you should see me in my off-duty attire. I assure you that you will have the same reaction that I had to you in your outstanding physique. Now if I may ask, why exactly are you here? The Yamanaka was surprised to have her taunt thrown back at her, but recovered quickly and responded. I'll get to the point. Kamito isn't the best on-site officer, and I'm looking out for one of my students. She tends to get in a fair bit of trouble. Kushina, you mean? I'm well aware of her. You didn't need to come here to warn me about her. I already know all I need to know. Stated Naruto dismissively, assuming that Kina was another teacher that had been run into the ground by an Uzumaki. Thank you for coming in, but if that's all you may leave, I'm sure you are a busy kunoichi. Kina was stunned at his dismissal. Oh, I get it. You have it in for the poor girl too. You haven't even been here a full day and you already think just like Kamito does. All you officers are the same, just because that poor girl is an Uzumaki you think you can treat her different. And I thought this guy was different. At this point Kina was nearly hovering over the desk, her face less than a foot from the unmoving Naruto. Her features became more enraged by his lack of response. Say something, damn it. You're not even an Uchiha, why do you have it out for her? Naruto stood up slowly, his face staying parallel with hers as he began to tower over her, easily standing 6 inches taller than her. My mother was an Uzumaki. Kushina-chan reminds me of the memories I have of her. Her eyes widened in horror. He wasn't lying when he had said that. She had been all wrong. He wasn't there to harass her, he was there to protect her. Oh shit. Kina, how did you mess this one up? Don't worry about your student, I'll look after her when I can. Stated Naruto in a soft, chiding voice. Thank you for looking out for her. You may leave now. Kina just dumbly nodded and walked out of the room. Naruto felt her emotions fluctuate wildly all the way out of the building. I probably could have handled that one better. Then a smile crossed his face. She's a lot like Mei, Tamari, and Yugito. It's going to be hell without them. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. 2 days later, police headquarters. Police work is boring, summed up Naruto as he looked through his reports from his last 2 days. 2 public intoxications, a theft of panties, which I'm 99% sure was Jiraiya, thank God he's leaving in 10 days, and my favorite one by far, the grand opening of Ichiraku's ramen was delayed when a merchant claimed a copyright on ramen. Yeah right. Naruto was pulled from his musings when Kamito came rushing into the main offices and shouted to Naruto. Come on kid, no time to explain, I'm going to need your help on this one. Academy, 5 seconds later. Naruto arrived to see none other than Kushina, pinning an older Uchiha to the wall and smashing her face repeatedly with her fist. Don't you ever. Crack. Down talk my family. Crack. Again. Crack. Before anyone could see it, Naruto was holding Kushina by the shoulders and Kamito was checking on the downed Uchiha. Kushina wheeled around, slamming a fist into Naruto's face, sending his head sideways. The gathering crowd grew silent as they realized that Kushina had just attacked a Chunin member of the police force. Damn, that's one hell of a punch kid. Laughed Naruto as he patted Kushina on the shoulder and looked to the nearest kid, easily shaking off the effects of a punch that felt like it came from a Chunin. You, Akamaiki, what happened here? The Akamaiki, which had turned out to be a young Shuza, responded. We were eating lunch when Kushina and Makoto started fighting. Makoto said that it was good that all the Uzumaki were dead because they were inferior. She said that the Uzumaki were just savages and that they disgraced the village, and Kushina snapped. Naruto nodded and held Kushina closer to himself. I see. And just what does Makoto have to say for herself? What do you mean? That little shit just attacked a member of the Uchiha clan, stated Kamito, an irrational rage entering his voice. Insulting and aggravating a fellow student is just as bad as beating another student. Add to the fact that Makoto insulted a protected clan of Konoha, and I'd say it evens out just fine, stated Naruto heatedly. There is nothing to make a case out of. The standard punishments will be fine. Many students and all teachers in the area were stunned that an officer would publicly stand against an Uchiha. You're new kid, so I'll say it nicely before I beat it into you. That brat you're holding is a menace. She gets in more fights than the next 3 kids combined, stated Kamito. Naruto looked down at the young Kushina, who now had her head down in shame. And she's one of those scum Uzumaki, she's a little cun. Kamito found himself embedded in the wall where Makoto had just been pummeled. Code 7, Subsection G. An officer will never insult or speak derogatorily of a civilian. Code 20, Subsection A. Any officer found to be emotionally or racially biased will be removed from case or assignment. Several Anbu surrounded Naruto, though none of them moved. Their captain, Rooster, along with all the captains, had been informed that Naruto was to be respected, and having seen the way that Kamito was acting, he completely agreed. Falcon, bring Kamito Uchiha to Kagami and explain the situation. Lizard, bring Makoto Uchiha to the hospital. Naruto let go of Kamito and moved back to Kushina, waiting for the Anbu to address him. Namikaze, I expect a full report on both what happened with Uzumaki and with what happened with your fellow officer to be written up and turned into Kagami, stated Rooster. Naruto nodded and the Anbu disappeared, most likely to report back to the Hokage. All right students, report back to your classes, stated Naruto with authority. As the rest of the students moved back to their classes, Kushina simply stared up at him with terror on her eyes, awaiting her punishment. Naruto smiled down at her and began leading her inside. Come on, we have a report to fill out. Once they were back in the office, Naruto closed the door and picked up a few forms. He walked around the desk and sat down, placing the forms in front of Kushina on the desk. Now Kushina, my name is Naruto Namikaze. Could you tell me why you are involved in so many fights? Kushina's head dropped again. They make fun of me because my clan and my village are gone. Some make fun of me for my hair or that I want to become Hokage. But that's no reason to fight them, Kushina. You just laugh at people like that. They don't matter. Don't let them bother you. Do you have any friends? Asked Naruto, finding himself using the voice he had used with Remi when she was younger. Yay, Shuza and Shikaku are nice to me, but Inoichi is always really distant. Though Makoto was my friend until today, stated Kushina as she started to sniffle. Kushina, why aren't you friends with any of the Senju? Questioned Naruto, though he was actually rather curious about this. They are all assholes. None of them want to play with me because Lady Mito is taking care of me until, well, they call me a grandma's girl and they won't play with me either. Kushina said sadly. So she knows that she will become a Jinchuriki. Thought Naruto sadly. Is there something else in your life that is making you angry? Something that maybe you can't control? You seem to have a lot of pent-up anger. Kushina's eyes shot up to meet his, the fear in her eyes making Naruto flinch. No, nothing like that. You're worried that whatever it is will change what people think of you for the worse, stated Naruto, talking from experience. Kushina's eyes started to swell up. No, really, it's nothing. Having the Kyuubi sealed in you isn't nothing, Kushina, stated Naruto. Kushina froze as she stared at the man before her. Don't worry, I know because I'm an Uzumaki too. My mom was a full-blooded Uzumaki, Just like you. My dad was a farmer that had met my mother when they were both in Konoha. You're an Uzumaki too? Questioned Kushina as she looked at Naruto hopefully. Naruto smiled and raised his right sleeve, revealing the Uzumaki spiral that was actually a chakra seal on top of his right forearm. Yep. My mother taught me about seals when I was young. After she died, I became a ninja for the leaf so I could stay close to my father. Unfortunately, he passed away before you were even born. Are there more? Are there more Uzumaki left? Are there more like me and Mito-sama? Questioned Kushina happily. Naruto smiled back. How up is it that I'm acting like an older brother for the girl who becomes my mother? There are a few left that are true Uzumaki, but there are many left that are part Uzumaki, like me. Like Tsunade, Mito's granddaughter. Kushina smiled big before her frown returned. Does that mean that I still have to have the Kyuubi sealed inside me? Unfortunately, yes. You have special chakra that is vital to containing the Kyuubi. Stated Naruto sadly. But I'll make you a promise, okay? What? Asked a turmoiled Kushina. I'll always be your friend, Kushina. I might have to be hard on you sometimes, and one day I might no longer be here with you, but no matter what, even after the big dumb fox is sealed in you, I'll be your friend. Stated Naruto, who was quickly tackled by a sobbing Kushina. She was muttering something into his Chunin vest. She kept crying, thanking him and holding him tightly, until she ran out of energy and fell asleep on his shoulder. What have I gotten myself into? Dad isn't even here yet. Naruto sat Kushina down on the small bench in the corner of the office and summoned 2 shadow clones to begin filling out reports. I guess me and Mom were a lot more alike than I thought, tough on the outside, teddy bears on the inside. It took about 5 minutes to fill the reports out while Naruto wrote up a sign to post on the door. The clones finished up the reports and dispersed. Naruto put the sign on the outside of the door, picked up the files and lifted Kushina before disappearing in a flash of gold. It was an hour or so later when a concerned teacher approached the office and saw that it was empty. 30 minutes later, police headquarters. Naruto had just given his reports to Kagami and was now sitting across from the man. Several officers surrounding the table to serve as witness. Let me get this straight, kid. You responded to a fight at the school. One student beat another nearly unconscious. You broke it up with help from Kamito, who then tried to, as you say, shift all the blame onto the perpetrator of the fight. At that point, Kamito threatened you, spoke derogatorily about a civilian and nearly called a 7-year-old girl the C-word. Questioned Kagami, to which Naruto simply nodded. What the hell is wrong with him? Sir, how do we know Namikaze isn't lying? Accused Fugaku. Kamito has been on the force for 6 years, Namikaze hasn't even been here 6 days. There are a dozen eyewitness accounts that back up his explanation of the events perfectly. Stated Kagami, silencing the surrounding Uchiha and drawing a nod from Fugaku. What did you do with the girls? Kushina is suspended for 2 days, including this one, for assaulting a student. It will go on her record. Makoto, once she is healed, will spend 1 week's worth of lunch detentions cleaning blackboards as punishment for starting a fight and demeaning a protected clan with intent to defame. It is up to Hokage-sama if it will go on her record. Stated Naruto, causing the Uchiha in the room to erupt in anger. Silence. Demanded Kagami as he stood up from his chair. The crimes that Makoto committed are far worse than that of which the Uzumaki committed. She could be kicked from the program entirely due to her arrogance. You should be lucky that Namikaze is letting her off this easily. I agree. Stated Fugaku, shocking the crowd. This is the 3rd time an Uchiha has acted poorly at the academy in the last 2 months. They get away with it because Kamito allows it. If this continues, the Uchiha clan as a whole will develop a negative rapport with the younger generations. That will no longer happen. Stated Kagami as he returned to his seat. Kamito has been placed on probation for his transgressions against a civilian child. He is currently under review. Naruto, clean out your desk. You are now the full-time on-site officer for the academy and the surround areas. That night, Naruto's apartment. Naruto bolted up in his bed as he remembered something that Onoki had said. They would have been 35 when they cast it. It is an old Uzumaki fuinjutsu that takes away the life lived by the caster and sends the target back in a way, thought Naruto as he recited Onoki's words in his head. But Kitsuchi was 43. He couldn't have been the one to send me back. But that doesn't make sense. I only went back 35 years, and the Tsuchikage doesn't have a son in this timeline. Naruto pondered long and hard about the conundrum. Maybe. Naruto had struggled to find any answers to his problem within the village. The Uzumaki shrine had some interesting information on time manipulation seals, but it was of a different sort than what he was looking for. He had also had a very brief talk with Mito one day after Kushina had asked that he take her home, but the second he mentioned his great-grandfather by name, she reacted strangely and asked that he come back another time. On the other hand, it had been almost a month since Naruto had taken over as the academy's on-site officer, and just about everyone in the school supported him. The teachers all had a great amount of respect for his hard-working attitude and his fairness to all students. The fact he had defended a student against a ninja had earned brownie points. The headmaster loved him because he took over all disciplinary actions for students, leaving the headmaster to just look after the staff, and most of all, the children adored him. Naruto had taken to leaving the office as much as possible and walking the hallways or playing ninja with the students during breaks. Overall, the feel of the academy had tightened up and the morale had increased as well. I need to find time to get to Uzu and search for some answers. Maybe Jiraiya is waiting for my response. The seal might have a key on both sides. Today was a Wednesday, and Naruto sat in his office reading the weekly newspaper. He found it interesting that the village would put out news like this, but he found it pretty useful for keeping an eye on the outside world, as long as you didn't see the words as gospel. The cover story was reporting that Hanzo had been driven back on the fronts and that 3 ninja had forced the warlord's retreat. He had termed them the Sannin as he signaled the retreat. That made Naruto smile. If this timeline panned out, Orochimaru and Tsunade would be back in the village in a few weeks and Jiraiya would be training the founding members of Akatsuki. He would have to keep an eye on that one if he was here for it. A knock at his door brought Naruto out of his musings. You can come in, Ms. Yamanaka. And just how did you know it was me? She asked as she walked in, her face inquisitive. The same way I know everything that goes on this property. Stated Naruto serious before a smirk crossed his face. I'm magic. Kina rolled her eyes and took a seat. How long have you been here? Classes don't start for another hour. I am here when I need to be. He stated cryptically. How can I help you? Last time we talked you were shouting at me. The busty Yamanaka blushed at that. Let's forget that happened. I'm here to inform you that yesterday a young man that bears striking resemblance to you was placed in my classroom. And he shares your last name. Yes, Minato. Stated Naruto as he pulled a folder out of seemingly nowhere and laid it on the table. 7 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes. He was found at the orphanage near Glassport last week. His mother died at sea a month ago. What about his father? She asked suspiciously. You're looking at him, Naruto said with a perfectly straight face. Okay, that was over the top. But I don't think hearing that he's my father would have gone any better. You're 17. You had a child when you were 9. Questioned Kina with a look of astonishment. Is he really your son? No, I was pulling your leg. His father was a local shinobi who lost his life in a village raid 2 years ago. Namikaze is a common name in the lower country. Stated Naruto, his lips curled into a devious smile. You really think that if I had a son he would have been in an orphanage? You jackass. You scared me half to death with that. Stated Kina as she glared at him. What kind of asshole does that? I thought you might actually be taken for a second. Naruto watched her eyes go wide as she admitted that before her face flushed and her emotions spiked. Oh shit. Did I just admit that I'm interested in him? Sorry to scare you, I just thought that would be a fun joke. Stated Naruto empathically. No, Minato isn't my son. If anything, he might be a distant cousin. I didn't mean it like that, I just thought, look, whatever. Stated Kina as she sat forward in her chair. Kushina seems to have taken an interest in him, and not a good one. She seems rather aggressive toward him. Also, some students have been comparing him to you. Well, how about I visit your class at some point today and we can clear it up? Would that make it up to you? Asked Naruto with a kind smile. Not like I don't know how to be a father. Shisui and Azumi turned out just fine. Kinda. Sure. How's after lunch sound? Half-hour later, Hokage Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi was a complicated man. While his personality was that of a grandfather or an old friend, his political views could vary from the peace-loving nature of his first sensei, Hashirama, to the pragmatic and sometimes downright brutal nature of his second sensei, Tobirama. Some say that this is what caused him to be such a pronounced and powerful leader. He truly did love every ninja and every citizen in his village, but he was quite capable of squashing an enemy with every ounce of Konoha might if he had to. Most had given up on trying to figure the old man out. Some had rumored that the only people in the village that truly knew him were his wife and his students. They were mostly correct. There was another man that knew Sarutobi and could read him like a book. Naruto strolled into his office, the secretary too shocked that someone had the gall to simply walk in to even think of stopping him. Naruto had begun to develop a rapport with this Hiruzen, just as he had with the last, though he had to admit, the want to call him Gigi had been a heavy cross to bear. Naruto, I assume you wish to request something. Are you ready to start searching? Questioned Hiruzen, his voice even and his eyes focused on the young man across from him. Should you not be watching the school? Hokage-sama, I would like for you to accompany me to the Senju compound. I have not found anything of note in the Konoha archives and I would like to approach Lady Mito herself on the subject. Stated Naruto carefully. I have left a clone at the school, and I can get there in an instant if needed. Sarutobi did not look the least bit surprised. He had agreed to let Naruto attempt to get home, and had agreed that he would not hamper him as long as he trained his top ninja when he was available. I do suppose it is time I visit Lady Mito again. Is there anything in particular you would like to ask of her? Yes, I'd like to ask her about her uncle, or more importantly, my great-grandfather. Senju compound. Naruto had been to this compound a few times in this world, but he still couldn't get over the beauty and tranquility of the landscape. The compound itself was similar to the Hyuga. The main family had their own, medium-sized house, while the rest had their own, much larger house. Mito, of course, lived in the main house. Naruto had only seen it once before he was asked to leave by Mito. Something he had asked had stirred her greatly. Sarutobi, however, waltzed right through the clan grounds into the main house. He had walked this trail more times than he cared to remember and quite frankly was not exactly ready to be a part of the conversation that he knew was going to take place. Mito never was good at bringing up the past. Naruto let Hiruzen knock. Even the great Naruto Namikaze was deathly afraid of the woman in the building. Mito answered the door, a smile on her aging face as she focused in on Hiruzen. She was about to greet him when she saw the young man beside him. Oh, just what did Kushina do now that would require the both of you to visit me? Usually it's just Namikaze-san. Kushina hasn't done anything to warrant this visit, Lady Mito. Stated Hiruzen as he paused and looked at Naruto. Has she? Well, yesterday she stabbed someone with a drink straw, but his parents didn't press charges because he had been hitting on her. Stated Naruto seriously. I really have to talk with the headmaster about the upperclassmen, that just isn't right. So this isn't about Kushina. Stated Mito with an odd look in her eye. What is it that you want? Hiruzen looked into Mito's eyes and asked a question. Do you have any knowledge on a seal called displacement of time? Mito's eyes went wide, her gaze searching Sarutobi before her eyes narrowed and settled on Naruto. So that is what you asked about my uncle. How do you know about that jutsu? It's forbidden, even from the main family. Because I saw it. I saw the tipped flares on the kanji and I know it was his seal. Trust me, I know my great-grandfather's style. Stated Naruto, well aware that he had essentially given away who he was to Mito. Her face adopted a look of confusion before it morphed into admonishment and understanding. Get in the house. It wasn't a minute later that Mito was hovering around Naruto, inspecting the boy and admiring the seals on his arms. Naruto didn't remember when he had lost his flak jacket or his overshirt. Uzumaki only had one child, Jin. Jin only had one child, little Kushina. Stated Mito as she unlocked the Uzu symbol on his right forearm and inspected it. This is exemplary work, on par with my own. Chakra storage, an interesting concept. Jin had been working on something like this before the fall. You are Kushina's child. That much is obvious. Whose life did you sacrifice to come to this world? Questioned Mito intensely. Naruto looked back at her, his eyes questioning. Ma'am, I didn't activate that seal. Or draw it. The Tsuchikage of my time activated it. By the time I had studied it and found out it was my great-grandfather's design, I was waking up in this world. Mito gained a shocked look before she locked eyes with the blonde. Then there is a chance for you. What? I'm not an expert on that jutsu. It was classified as forbidden the day it was tested, but I do know that it can be reversed. Stated Mito. Uncle had built in a safety system, a reset. I don't know how it works, but if the necessary steps are made in both worlds, then you can return to your world. Do you have his notes, or know where they are? Questioned Naruto reverently. I do not have them. But if they still exist, they would be in the catacombs beneath Uzumaki's shrine in the Great Room. Stated Mito. He spent a great amount of time down there. It is where all the leaders test their jutsu. You mean the cavern beneath the fountain? When I was there before I didn't find anything like that. Stated Naruto questioningly. You have been in the Great Room? Asked Mito with astonishment. How? The entrance has been blocked since the death of Uzumaki, only the heir or the leader may enter. I got in fine last time. Stated Naruto plainly. Though mom died the day I was born, so I guess I was the next in line. There is a 2-day break from the academy at the end of the week. If you wish to go inspect the ruins for a few days, that is acceptable, but my team is set to return in 10 days, I need you here to assist in their training. Stated Sarutobi as he re-entered the room, a large bowl of cereal in his hand as he ate it lazily. Tsunade and Jiraiya could both use some training while I beat more lessons into Orochimaru. That stubborn boy will just never learn. Hiruzen, when did you get that bowl? Questioned Mito. You seemed rather involved in your conversation. I decided to get a bite to eat. Stated the Hokage before he put the bowl to his lips and drank the remaining contents. I best be off. Have a nice day, Lady Mito. I shall send over your granddaughter when she arrives. Mito ignored the Hokage, already used to his lackadaisical antics. While you are there, if you could find an artifact for me, I'll tell you what happened to the tailed beast that once resided in you. It was Naruto's turn to be stunned. Did he fuse with the Kurama in you? Is that how you know? Kurama. No, the beast in me is the Kyuubi. Stated Mito. That seal on your abdomen. It has no purpose but to hold a vast amount of chakra. You being an Uzumaki leads me to believe that either you held the Kyuubi or that the village obtained another beast. Naruto looked down, his face blank as he contemplated something. When it comes time for Kushina to have Kyuubi sealed in her, if I'm not here, tell her I'm proud of her. Mito didn't have a chance to respond before Naruto disappeared in a flash of gold. Mito, for her part, was rather impressed. Hiraishin. So the rumors are true. But who managed to snag Tobirama? Afternoon, Academy. Naruto made his way back into the academy, his mind still racing as he contemplated Mito's words. I need to figure out an escape plan. The ninja will understand a reassignment out of the village, but Kushina won't. That thought was a real downer. Mito isn't going to live forever. Minato better become friends with her soon, she's going to need someone. As Naruto walked into the entrance of the academy, he felt 12 chakra signatures on either side of the upcoming hallway charge water chakra to standard genin level. The upper class. Alright you little shits, payback time. Naruto strolled into the hallway and watched as the students all launched their water whips at Naruto, the jutsu seemingly moving in slow motion. As Naruto smirked, he simply continued to walk forward and let the weak jutsus hit him. A cheer came from the students as their jutsus landed, but it ended as soon as the water soaked the hallway, and Naruto, aside from being soaked, was still grinning like a madman. Lightning release. Surge. A weak burst of lightning left Naruto's feet and traveled outward, shocking all the students, throwing them off of the walls and lockers. Now tell me, what are the 3 things that caused this plan to backfire? Questioned Naruto as the students all got up. When they all looked at them in confusion, Naruto just sighed and continued speaking. 1. You set a good ambush, but you didn't check the surroundings. There is nothing to absorb the water, meaning a skilled enemy could use it against you. 2. You overestimated the effectiveness of the ambush. You should have fled the second the water hit me, not dance around like a bunch of idiots. 3. You underestimated your target. I let that water hit me to teach you a lesson. If I was an enemy of my strength, I'd have killed you all before you even got the water whips off. It was too slow. After a few seconds of silence, the boy farther away from Naruto looked up. Sorry Mr. Namikaze. We won't let it happen again. Naruto simply smiled. It's fine, because it's time for reason number 4. Never try to prank the king. Naruto flashed away, just as the bell rang. Boys, why is there water all over the floor? Academy Room 114. Alright class, everyone find your seats. I have a special surprise for all of you, stated Kina as she waited for the class to sit down. Today we had a pop quiz planned, but instead, Mr. Namikaze will be joining us for an alternative lesson. A joyous cry erupted from the students, making Kina smile. How did he get so good with kids? They all seem to love him. Naruto walked in just on time, his chunin jacket and long sleeve over shirt missing and his sleeveless undershirt and pants drenched as he moved to stand next to the teacher. Sorry, someone taught an entire upper class the water whip and they pranked me with it. How do you want to do this? Bent over the desk with you behind me, thought Kina the second she saw Naruto's frame through his tight wet shirt. I guess he wasn't kidding, that uniform hides his body. Yummy. I figured the students could ask you any questions they might have, get to know someone who isn't a teacher or a parent. Alright, started Naruto as he swept his hair back and tied his forehead protector to keep the wet hair out of his eyes, giving the class and Kina a great view of the tattoo-like seals on his arms. Who would like to ask the first question? Just about every hand in the class went up. Alright then, how about you Tomi? A young girl in the front row stood up. Mr. Namikaze, why do you have tattoos all over your arms? These are actually seals. Each one has a different purpose. They can do a lot of stuff. The 3 on my left shoulder are chakra storage seals, the ones on my forearms hold my swords, the one on the back of my right hand is kinda like a storage scroll, and the one on my left hand is when students misbehave. Laughed Naruto evilly while scanning the crowd. What about the spiral one? On your right arm, what does that one do? That, boys and girls, is the Uzumaki clan crest. The symbol of the whirling tides, it was also their village emblem. Stated Naruto with pride. Some students looked at Kushina, who had a similar smile on her face. This tattoo is to remember those of my clan that lost their lives defending Konoha when their village was destroyed. People like my mother and Kushina-chan's family. You're an Uzumaki. But I thought your last name was Namikaze. It is. My mother was an Uzumaki, but my father was a farmer from the southern part of the country. Stated Naruto. Are you the new kid's dad? Naruto's sweat dropped. No. Minato, stand up please. The boy looked curious, but stood up anyway. Minato is from the southern fishing village of Glassport. It is possible that we are related, but I'm not his father. I'd have been your age when I had him. You can sit down now Minato. Are you dating anyone? Asked a girl near the back, getting a giggle from the crowd. Naruto smiled and shook his head. No, I'm afraid I don't date. Next question. Naruto missed the look that crossed Kina's face. What element do you have? Asked Shuza, getting some nods of interest from the students. My main element is wind, but I can use all 5. Stated Naruto happily, before a thought occurred. Hang on a second. Naruto flipped through 3 hand seals and all the water that had been drenching his clothes formed into a small ball before he sent it out the window, letting it splash on the ninja unfortunate enough to be walking outside the academy, drawing a shout from the victim. There was a giggle from the students before a very wet ninja appeared in the window, a Chunin Hyuga. Which one of you little Namikaze-san? It obviously wasn't from this room. Hyuga-san, I hear that Uchiha-san's class just learned the water whip. I assume you have just encountered it. Stated Naruto with a completely straight face, all the students frozen in shock. I will take it up with him when I go visit him next period. I believe I already know who is responsible. Thank you Namikaze-san, I shall go change into some dry clothes. Stated the Hyuga before he jumped from the window and fled to the Hyuga compound. It wasn't much longer that the class started cracking up, none of them having ever seen something like that before. Kina, after she managed to control herself, quieted the students. Now that Namikaze-san here has your attention, let's continue. Can you teach me how to do that water thing? I'm sorry, but I'm not your teacher. You will cover the elements and some jutsu in your last year at the academy. Stated Naruto, getting some grumbles. But, consider this your lesson for the day. In my youth, I built up my stealth, speed, planning and reflexes by pulling pranks and escaping afterwards. Now just to be clear, you will be punished if you get caught, so don't get caught. Can I prank my sister? Questioned Inoichi, gaining a smirk from Naruto and a glare from Kina. I don't advise you prank her. She seems like the type that would retaliate quickly and with vengeance. Smirked Naruto as the class snickered at their teacher's expense. Oh, real funny Namikaze. You won't be laughing when I have you moaning my where the hell did that come from? Thought Kina before she snapped out of it and spoke up. Alright class, Mr. Namikaze is a busy man so only a few more questions before we get back to our lessons. Minato looked at Naruto and asked a question that had been on his mind since he first saw the man. Sir, how did you get those scars on your cheeks? Naruto looked out the window, gathering his thoughts. He didn't like lying to children. Before I was back in the village, when I was early on in my career, I had a great battle with a monster, one of the Biju. We lost countless men, including my mother. One of the ninja had been foolish, he broke rank and went to fight the beast himself. The line fell apart and I was forced to cover a gap that I couldn't handle. I was hit by a blast of the beast's chakra, and thrown from the battlefield. When I woke up I had these scars. Some have told me that I was marked by the beast because it respected me as a warrior, others have said that they are a form of chakra burns. I think of them as a reminder to never abandon my comrades. The room was silent for a moment before Kushina raised her hand. Naruto ni-san, what does it mean to be a ninja? My sensei once told me that when we are at our lowest point, we are open to our greatest challenges. Being a ninja isn't about having the coolest jutsu or having fun. Shinobi and kunoichi fight each day of their life to protect the people they love and the village they fight for. You live a life that progressively gets harder until you die or you retire. Your entire career is going to drag you through the worst situations imaginable, beat you down, chew you up and spit you out. But you do it because it keeps your family safe, it allows the younger generation to enjoy the peace of a secure village while you give your life to make sure that they can live theirs. Most ninja balance it out with their loved ones, with hobbies or other coping habits. This isn't a profession that you go into because you want to travel or because you like a boy or girl and want to impress them. This is a profession for those who are willing to give their lives to protect their comrades, someone who can deal with doing horrible things to keep their family and loved ones safe. Stated Naruto. To take a kunai for the person next to you. To live in the dark so that someone may bask in the light. That is what it means to be a true shinobi. The students were all silent, most contemplating their reasons for becoming a shinobi, some contemplating if it was worth it, and two contemplating just what Naruto's life had been like. Kina stared at the man standing before her, not being able to get a read on him. Just who are you? You speak like a wise old man, act like a kid and have so much pain in your eyes. Why were you in a fight with a Biju? Why have you cut yourself off from everyone except your clansmen? Naruto stood before the fountain in the center of the ruined Uzu, his mind wandering as he looked into the water. I only have 2 days to search the village for answers. I already swept the archives, the leader's office and the Anbu complex. Naruto had somewhat surprised Sarutobi when he used the 2-day school break to request 3 days off to search Uzu. Hiruzen had told him point blank that they already had searched the village and laid the bodies to rest, but allowed him to go anyway. He was a man of his word, after all, and Naruto had begun to secretly tutor the ninja that Sarutobi had sent. It helped that he had been there when Mito had backed his claim of the tomb under the fountain. Naruto dove into the water and swam down, bumping twice into hard rock before he found the hidden passage and landed hard on the cavern floor. This was a lot easier the first time. He entered the main room of the cavern, finding it the same as in his time. Kushina's father had been entombed, he wondered how they got him down here during the battle. Putting those thoughts aside, Naruto went to the scroll at the foot of his great-grandfather's grave and began searching through it. It was an hour later that he reached the end and with a defeated sigh he rolled it back up. Mito said it was under the tomb, but if the resting place hadn't been finalized. Thought Naruto as he got up and placed the scroll back at the foot of the coffin. Under his shrine. But it's not a shrine, it's a coffin. Could he have had another room? Naruto looked around. This world's great room seemed to be identical to his, but he had searched that room high and low and had never found another room, or even a door. Naruto sighed and walked over to the wall, leaning against it. The entrance has been blocked since the death of Tamaki. Thought Naruto, reciting the words of Mito as he looked at the coffin, his eyes growing wider. No, could it? Naruto moved to the side of his great-grandfather's coffin, gently placing his palm on the lid. Was it sealed after you died, because you're blocking it? Feeling his stomach flip-flop, Naruto slowly opened the lid of the coffin, only to find it empty. Oh hell, thought Naruto aloud as he lifted the lid all the way open, finding that the bedding had been shifted, as if his ancestor had gotten out of the casket. Naruto quickly backed up, irrational fear that Tamaki had come back as a zombie nearly paralyzingly him. Wait, Grandpa Jin had somehow trapped his spirit in the village in my world. Naruto again approached the casket, this time he looked closer. The bedding was not nailed down, like it traditionally was. Instead it was loose from the bottom. He lifted it, finding a plain wood bottom with a large seal spanning the planks. A blood seal? Questioned Naruto as he inspected the seal, biting his thumb and wiping his blood across the portion of the seal. The seal reacted quickly, a bright light emerging as the middle 3 planks disappeared, revealing a tunnel that seemed to go down forever. Damn it, Grandpa. Now I have to make my tomb cooler than yours. Academy. Kina Yamanaka was a strange person. Her father was an interrogation expert and she followed in his footsteps in the field, but she had never become an interrogator. She had become a hand-to-hand combat specialist, something that was far from normal in her clan. Though the oddities didn't stop there. She had been injured in battle, a thin scar across her abdomen that hampered her ninja progress while it fully healed. She had decided that she would become a teacher while she recovered, but fell in love with the profession and even after getting the all clear for combat she remained a teacher. She was said to know exactly what she wanted in life, and that she had the looks, skill and intelligence to get it. That was until Naruto Namikaze came along. He was too complex for her to read, too secretive to give up any valuable information, and he had a 1-page file in the records department, which consisted of his name, birthdate, blood type and physical attributes. No mention of record history or family background. It wouldn't bother her that badly if he wasn't so goddamn attractive. Seriously, the models in the capital look like golems compared to him. He could have any woman he wanted in a heartbeat. That was the other thing that frustrated her. He had been in the village for over a month, and other than being nice, which she had concluded was just his personality, he seemed to have no interest at all in the women of the village. Hell, the only one she had even heard about getting more than a friendly amount of attention was Kushina. And everyone in the school could tell that the Namikaze man looked after Kushina like a brother or a father. I don't date. Her face turned sour as she replayed his words in her mind. Did something happen in his past? Or maybe he is already in a relationship. The revelation hit her like a punch from an Akamiki. That's how he is so good with kids. Is he really a father? Is that where he disappears to every night and on days off? Iwagakure. Onoki looked over the reports from the leaf, and he didn't know if he should smile or kill someone. His spy on the inside had not been able to glean much on the time traveler, but it seemed that he had become a police officer, assigned to the academy. Why wasn't Hiruzen using the young man on the front lines? Sure, his students, the now legendary Sanin, had handed Hanzo his ass, and now AIM was dropping out of the war, but Kiri was still dangerous, and Suna wasn't aligned with anyone, and it meant something that Hiruzen had kept him cooped up in the village. Just what are you doing, Hiruzen? Could you possibly be preparing for something? Onoki didn't like the idea of that. Iwa had timed their retreat from the war perfectly. They gave no ground and no one dare invade them because they hadn't lost much in the process. Much like Kumo, Iwa was ready for another round, but Konoha just had gained a ninja with untold power. 2 Kage in one village, plus the Hitaki and now these Sanin. I believe I best speak to the elders for peace talks. Konoha is too strong to attack now. Kumo, you called for me, father. The third Raikage looked up from his reports to see his 12-year-old son standing in the entrance to his office. It swelled his chest with pride to see that his son was a chunin at such a young age. He wasn't far from becoming a jonin either, but decided long ago that he wouldn't let a become a jonin until the war was over. We received a report from Konoha. Your mission to capture the last Uzumaki will have to wait. Why? Have our spies been found out? Questioned as he sat before his father. Fortunately no. Though a new ninja has been spotted working at the academy as a security officer of sorts. The sensor states that his chakra levels fluctuate anywhere between high Kage and close to the Hachibi. The third watched his son's eyes grow wide. Obviously we cannot count this claim as true without further proof, but I can't send a team into that village with a potential war machine within the walls. So until we find out exactly who or what it is, we will have to postpone any operations on Konoha. Stated with understanding. Perhaps we could use Kiri as a cover. If the reports are true, then Kiri and Konoha are the only two left in the war. Kiri has already lost much of their forces and Genjutsu was severely wounded when he killed Mew. Stated the Raikage. The most we could use them for is to buffer an invasion. Unknown location. Danzo Shimura was not an unintelligent man. He had excelled his entire life, failing at nothing he had put his mind to. He built Root from the ground up, fighting many of Konoha's darkest battles before the enemy even saw the light of day. He had the most comprehensive spy network the ninja world had ever known, with top operatives in each and every major village. That is why he was concerned now. Roughly a month ago, Naruto Namikaze had entered the village as a hostile force that had effortlessly defeated Sarutobi's star pupil. 2 days later, the young man had been appointed to the police force, and a short time after that he became the academy liaison. He was exceptional, but he was also a ghost. The man had appeared in Iwa a bit more than a month ago, but he was non-existent before that. His operatives had checked his backstory. Each event that was spoken about had happened, even if it was slightly off, and there had been details in his claims that were top secret, even he had not known about them before digging. Only the Hokage had the clearance to read those files. But there was no report of him at any of them. He was a ghost in the very sense of the word. That meant one of two things: that the boy had covered his tracks perfectly, or that Sarutobi had hidden the boy away and they fabricated his history. If Sarutobi had that amount of trust in the man, then he was special, and Danzo took a particular interest in special shinobi. Danzo still had next to zero information on the Namikaze, but that was about to change. Yamanaka. Report. Hokage's office. Sarutobi had seen several horrifying sights in his life. The mutilation he committed in the First War, the widows of ninja he had sent to death, his son's birth, his sensei bending his mother over. Thankfully it was after his father had died, but still. Actually, that wasn't as bad as seeing Bawako's mother. Tsunade watched a million emotions run across her sensei's face. She had seen him like this before, mostly when he was remembering the First War. Sensei, just what did you see that would scar you like this? And the wrinkles, it was like she was made of chakra paper and had a village's worth lightning chakra passed through her. What a terrible sight she was, thought Sarutobi as he shook his head violently, trying to get rid of the horrifying image. Orochimaru, Tsunade, I see that your report was not an attempt to pull my leg. Orochimaru recovered quickly, having prepared for it after his foolish teammate had left out on his own. Correct, Sensei. Jiraiya said he would stay behind to train some orphan children. He said we could use him as a front line in case AIM repeats its attempt at invading the other lands. We can't have that. The war is all but over in AIM. We must focus on keeping Suna out of the war and finishing off Kiri. Stated Sarutobi, his mind drifting to what Naruto had said before he left. If Jiraiya doesn't come back with the others, we need to go get him and bring the children back as well. Want us to go get him? There is no telling where he will be. Stated Tsunade, her sadness that he had left her masked by her anger at his apparently stupid behavior. No, not yet. I have sent Naruto on an S-rank mission. Should he return, he will go with Tsunade as an escort. I need you in the village, Orochimaru. Stated Sarutobi. If he creamed us in Sakumo, what could be dangerous enough that he might not come back alive? Questioned Tsunade. I'm afraid that is truly top secret. If he returns, it may become declassified. Yamanaka Flower Shop. Daddy, can I ask you some questions? Asked Kina as she walked into the small flower shop, her father behind the counter with a gardener's apron on. She had always found it funny that her father, the feared mind walker of Konoha, had adopted gardening as his hobby. I can't answer much about the Namikaze boy. Most that I know is confidential. Stated Inamaru as he looked up from a bill he had received payment for. What questions do you have that you couldn't gather yourself? Damn it, Dad, how do you always know what I'm thinking about? Questioned Kina as she moved to tend to some sun orchids. It's my job as a father to know what you are thinking. Now, he removed the gloves he had on and moved to the back shelves of the store. You wonder why he is so closed off. All I can tell you is that he has recently undergone an extreme shift in his life, just before he returned to the village. Was it a negative shift? Other than losing his teammates? Questioned Kina, ignoring the fact that her father was reading her like a book. The man had always been able to. That would depend. He has little control over a multitude of factors in his life, but at the same time he has the resources to create his own path. Stated the elder Yamanaka. If I were to guess, his past has a much stronger pull than any future that he would care to create here. That young man may be powerful, intelligent, and kind, but I've seen boulders less stubborn. I'm surprised he fits so well under Kagami. You used to say that about me. Reminded the Yamanaka heir kindly. You basically named me after that saying. A more fitting name there has never been. Thought Inamaru with a quick shake of his head and a smile. If you are trying to understand the young man, you won't until he lets you. He may enjoy his time in this village, but the pull to leave is great in him. Reading his psyche reports, the fact that he is astounding with children and has an uncanny ability to attract people to him, along with the fact that he is so closed off, I'd say that he lost a part of him that he knows he can't find here. People of his type tend to develop bonds that are only breakable by death. Maybe that is why he is so protective of Kushina. Confirmed the academy teacher. He seems to put her on a pedestal above the other children. The bond between Uzumaki clansmen is not inconsequential. You can see that in the bond between Mito-sama and little Kushina. Stated Inamaru as he turned to his daughter. I warn you now, do not get between him and that girl. Whatever bond it is that they have, it's nearly unbreakable. Uzumaki look out for each other, and when an elder Uzumaki sees a younger being treated poorly, it's explosive. Naruto Namikaze is the most dangerous ninja in this village, not only from the raw power he possesses, but because only he knows how strong he is, and if I were you, princess, I'd get so far on that girl's good side that you land on his. If he chooses to stay in this village, then I have no doubt that he will be not only a great ally, but a horrifying enemy. Kina contemplated her father's words carefully, attempting to make a set of plans to learn more about the enigmatic blonde Chunin. Do you think that he is good with children because he has experience, or because he had a terrible childhood? Now Anoken, if you are planning on dating that young man, then he has to have a formal dinner with this family. Teased Inamaru. Dad. Uchiha District. Kagami sat in his living room, looking over a chakra training scroll that his favorite new blonde had given his as a thank you gift. It was rather simple, a variation of the water walking that was helpful to those with large chakra reserves, but in the margins were hand-scribbled notes on different ways to train one's element using the same tricks. Kagami had toyed with the idea of adopting the young teen, but he knew the elders would make a fuss. Besides, he found himself laughing at the image of Naruto treating him like a father. The young man could, without a doubt, beat him in almost every possible ninja field. A knock at the door drew Kagami's attention away from the scroll, a contemplating look running across his visage. Come in, Danzo, you are welcome here. The door slid open, a slight thumping noise as whoever had been with Danzo left. Danzo strolled carefully into the house, knowing better than to think that he was perfectly safe. His teammate had always been able to read him, and Danzo didn't care for it much. Finding an empty chair, Danzo took a seat, his eye scanning Kagami's face. What exactly do you need, Danzo? Stated Kagami kindly, though Danzo knew that the Uchiha was already on to him. I'd like to know about the new academy liaison. He interests me, stated Danzo directly, finding no point in being indirect with the only man he trusted as much as Sarutobi. I figured as much, stated Kagami as he stashed away the scroll he has been reading. He won't join your route, Danzo. I don't want him en route, replied Danzo, shocking the Uchiha. I want to know who he is. Naruto Namikaze. I'm sure you have read his file by now, stated Kagami with a grin. He loved shocking Danzo, and he was sure that this would be a bombshell. I believe he is the son or grandson of Tobarama sensei. What? Danzo nearly shouted. That's impossible. His file states that he is 17 years old. Yes, and sensei died 23 years ago, Danzo. And the only thing that states that Namikaze is 17 is a little piece of paper that was only recently declassified. Stated Kagami. Besides, I'm sure you know the rumors by now. The boy knows the Hiraishin. He is much better with it than sensei was. You have seen it? Questioned Danzo. Seen it. I felt it. He can move people at will. I was a victim. Remembered Kagami. Little bastard surprised me with it. Felt like I was going to throw up. Danzo sat in silence. If the boy knew Hiraishin, then he would be too troublesome to deal with. He would have to simply bide his time until the boy was settled in and try to get him assigned to Anbu. I know that look, Danzo. You can't have him. You can't tempt him with power, or the Anbu lifestyle. Reminded Kagami. He's out of your hands. You seem to underestimate me, my old friend. Hokage's office. A battle of titanic proportions was raging. No, not the battle of nations, or even the eternal battle with paperwork, which has claimed countless days of each Kage's life. No, this battle was between Hiruzen Sarutobi, the legendary professor, the strongest Kage in the lands, and his newest rival, his itchy robes. The Sarutobi feverishly scratched his calf, muttering curses at his robes. I'm having new robes commissioned the second Higurashi gets back into town. I've had enough of this. Crack. Sarutobi paused, looking around to see what it was that had broken during his vigorous scratching. Hopefully it wasn't something that Bawako got me. She still hasn't let me off the hook from. On the corner of his desk, Sarutobi caught an irregular glint of light, coming from the framed picture of Team 7. A sharp crack running through Jiraiya's face and ending abruptly under Tsunade's chin, almost as if it were dividing Jiraiya between Tsunade and Orochimaru. That cannot be good. Uchiha compound. Knock knock knock. Who the hell is it now? Wondered Kagami as he once again got up and moved toward the door. I swear to Madara, if it's those Leaf Scouts again. Kagami froze when he saw who it was that was at the door. What could I help you with, Miss Uzushio? How long is this ladder? It feels like I've been climbing for hours. Muttered Naruto. He had waited about an hour, searching the rest of the great room for any hidden areas, but had found none. Now he wished he had just jumped down the thing, but having already found 2 traps, he was glad he hadn't. A few careful minutes later and he had reached the bottom of the tunnel, finding himself in the middle of a wide cavern. Scrolls lined every wall in the dimly lit room, the floor was a rough rock surface, chunks of loose debris from the ceiling had fallen on the ground, created small piles of dirt and rock. Finally here. Good, then we can begin. Stated a spectral figure on the farthest wall, hovering above a set of 4 glass boxes. Let's get started. I'm the spirit of Tamaki Uzumaki, and you have seriously upped my plans.